Mingalaba and welcome to Myanmar Radio's Myanmar Today. I am Aga Jo. Today we have reports on China's growing role in UN peacekeeping processes. COVID-19 situation in Myanmar is leading to good condition. Government taking loan for the development of MSME sectors. 2020 general election, preparedness and era corrections are to be done. All of that on this edition of Myanmar Today, but for now, let's take a look at what's happening in local news. Deputy Minister for Planning, Finance and Industry, Umama Win, participated in the virtual meeting of the Deputy Finance Minister and Deputy Governors of central banks from ASEAN Plus 3 countries yesterday morning. The meeting was hosted by Vietnam. At the meeting, ASEAN Plus 3 countries discussed technical guidance for conditionality framework ILP for multinational participation in Chiang Mai Initiative multilateralization, matters related to the revision of the CMIM agreement, 2021 budget expenditure, and personal issues of the ASEAN Plus 3 Macroeconomic Research Office AMRO, reviews on the performance of the AMRO, performance growth conditions of the Asian Bond Markets Initiative, policy making, implementation and budgeting procedures of the ASEAN Plus 3 countries to respond to the COVID-19 crisis. A relief flight of Myanmar Airways International landed at the Yangon International Airport yesterday night, bringing back a total of 166 Myanmar citizens who were stranded in Malaysia. The Ministry of Labor, Immigration and Population, the Ministry of Health and Sports, and the local officials helped the returnees for health inspections and arranged for a 21-day quarantine. To bring back the Myanmar citizens who were stranded in foreign countries in relief flight and charter flight in accordance with the instructions of the National Level Central Committee on Coronavirus Disease 2019. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs cooperated with relevant ministries and Myanmar embassies from respective countries. The Consumer Affairs Department will stock up 2,587 containers of palm oil weighing 42 tons at the sports ground in Nadoji town, according to the department. At present, the department has already stockpiled a total of 1,798 containers of palm oil weighing 29 tons starting from 30th of July. Under the Mandalay Regional Government Plan, the supervision teams for storage of palm oil were formed in townships and districts. The emergency palm oil is stocked up to prevent shortage of the food for public if the outbreak of coronavirus is highly spread in the country. The prices of black and white sesame seeds are significantly rising in Mandalay market on the back of strong demand from China, Mandalay traders said. This year, high sesame producing regions of Myanmar, including Magway, Mandalay, and Sagaing region, experienced low yield due to drought impacts. During the meantime, China high demand hiked the prices, according to So Wei Mian Depot in Mandalay. Owner of So Wei Mian Depot said, Myanmar increasingly sends sesame seeds to China market. The price fluctuates a bit. The gradual increase in sesame prices since last week of July has been attributed to high demand by China when the drought reduced crop yield in the country. The various varieties of the sesame are priced good, especially black and white sesame varieties, unquote. That's all with the local news. Now we will move on to our first report. State Councillor Daw San Suu Kyi at a video conferencing held yesterday had discussions about preparedness and current situations for 2020 general election. It is mentioned that the errors found in the already released voters list are to be reviewed and corrected, and the responsible organizations are considering a lot about the health safety as well. Laura Swissin has more.
State Councillor Daw San Suu Kyi hosted a regular video conferencing on Wednesday, during which the necessary procedures and challenges for 2020 general election were mentioned. The participants were U Thein Sui, Union Minister for Labor, Immigration and Population, U Mien Nai, Member of Union Election Commission, and U Ta Ao, Deputy Director General of General Administration Department. The 2020 general election is to be held in November, and the voters' list have already been released from 25th of July to 7th of August. However, the complaints were lodged by the citizens concerning the errors found in the list. Concerning this issue, State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi asked the authorized persons the reasons and current situations.
For ensuring the citizens to be able to vote, it is necessary to have the correct voters list. I have heard that there are many errors in the voters list released during these 2 weeks. Every citizen who is over 18 years old has the right to vote. This is not just the right, this is the responsibility of the citizens. To be able to do so, the responsible organizations have to cooperate and assist.
The voters' counting system is based on ground-level enumeration instead of household list. In doing so, errors were found, such as being left out from the list, wrong personal data, and non-rightful persons included in the list.
This is the first time of releasing the voters list, and based on the errors and feedback of the citizens, we are to release more accurate list in October. We have organized responsible working groups to review the list, to perform field study, and to provide service for the citizens. Errors we have here are because of the weakness of staff filling the data manually and technically. We are to review and correct them.
According to the Union Election Commission, about 6.6 million people have come and checked the voters' list. For the health safety issues, the people coming to the polling stations must stay at a distance of 6 feet apart, and the gloves and hand sanitizers will be provided. Regarding these preparedness, the State Councillor added the comment that whether the gloves can disturb in stamping on ballots, and to consider the time slot of polling since it will take longer because of social distancing.
We, the General Administration Department, are serving as the member in Union Election Commission and Subcommission at state, region, township, and ward levels in order to organize 2020 general elections successfully. For any problems with the voter list or election procedures, the citizen can contact with the staff of General Administration Office, and we are willing to assist them.
The State Councillor said that the General Administration Department plays an important role in the election procedures, and it has to try to win the trust of the citizens.
The Ministry of Labour, Immigration and Population, Union Election Commission, and General Administration Department are responsible for producing accurate voters' lists and to keep the citizens safe on the day of voting. We have to successfully and safely organize the general election, despite it is the period of COVID-19 outbreak, for the right and duty of our citizens and the image of our country. We want to prove that our citizens are responsible, disciplined, and loyal to the country.
From 2016 to July of 2020, 5.72 million national registration cards were issued out. A total of 143,962 overseas returnees have arrived back in the country, and the Union Minister for Labour, Immigration and Population said that they are handling the overseas returnees to be able to vote. Myanmar citizens in the foreign countries can contact the embassies, according to the Union Minister. News reported by Dora Susan from Myanmar International Radio.
Thus, the report on 2020 general election preparedness and error corrections to be done. That's all with the reports on Myanmar Today. Now let's move on to international news here on Myanmar Today. For the development of the MSME sectors in Myanmar, the government is planning to take loan from JICA, where the enterprises affected by the impacts of COVID-19 will be supported. This is the third time the government is taking loan for the development of the MSME sector, knowing the importance of this sector in the country. Williamson has the full report.
Variety of enterprises is the main driving force of socio-economic growth in the country, which includes micro, small, medium enterprises. It is necessary to carry out systematically with the short-term and long-term visions. As SMEs are the main driving forces of the economy of the nation, the government is also keen to bring development to this sector by providing necessary support to it. Therefore, the government is planning to take a loan of 15 billion yen from JICA for the development of SMEs in the country. The SMEs include any type of industry or services, retail and wholesale, logistic businesses, agriculture, education, healthcare, electricity, transportation, energy, infrastructure, tourism, and so on. On the matter of taking loan from JICA, which is 15 billion yen, Umamawin, Deputy Minister for the Ministry of Planning, Finance and Industry spoke at Pidongsutlata on 5th of August, and he said,
For the first phase of the project for the development of MSMEs, we had taken ODA loan from JICA in 2015 and 2016 fiscal year, which was 5.033 billion yen or 60.241 billion chats. With the first phase of the project till June 2020, we have given loan to 435 business persons from the MSME sector. The amount of loan is 93.288 billion chats. As it has been about 5 years since the first phase of the project was initiated, we have loaned out all the money to the enterprises in Myanmar, although we have about 60 billion chats. The reason we have more amount of loan given out than the initial amount of loan is some of the enterprises have repaid back the loan, which makes we have more capital than the actual amount of the loan. As we have policy of one customer, one chance, we don't give loan to the enterprises who have already taken the loan, and this is called credit creation in banking. 14.949 billion yen or 196.979 billion chats was also taken from JICA as a loan for the second phase project, which was taken in 2018, where 772 of the enterprises were given the loan with this loan, and the amount of loan given to them is 129.25 billion chats in total.
According to the report by the Ministry of Planning, Finance and Industry, some of the main challenges in giving loan to enterprises are, according to the terms and conditions of JICA, 80% of loan, which is called fixed capital, must be spent, and another 20% must be spent as working capital. And when it comes to giving loans to MSMEs, many of enterprises are not suitable with these terms and conditions, and MSMEs want more of working capital where there will be more of profit. And another challenge is there is a limited resource with insurance, which make loan a hard choice for many MSMEs as they don't want to risk business without insurance. And there is also a weak point from MSMEs in keeping the cash flow systematically. Speaking further on this, Umamawin said,
MSME COVID-19 ကြောင့်ထိခိုက်တဲ့လုပ်ငန်းများကိုဦးစားပေးရေးတိုင်းဒေသကြီးပြည်နယ်အနှံ့အပြားရောက်ရှိရေးတို့ကိုကြက်မှတ်ဆောင်ရွက်မည်ဖြစ်ကြောင်း
In this third phase project, we want to use the loan in supporting the enterprises affected by the impacts of COVID-19, where there will be a strict case study on how the enterprises are affected. We will make sure that this loan reaches out to the businesses mostly affected by COVID-19, and it reaches the enterprises across the country.
There are registered MSMEs, 34,382 enterprises in Myanmar, according to the report. Some of the areas which are given priority in giving loan include construction, food, dairy, fisheries, fertilizer-related enterprises, plastic-related enterprises, textile, rubber production, handcrafts, tourism, media and communication enterprises, and electrification of rural areas. The loan of 15 billion yen from JICA was approved by Pidongsutlata for the development of MSMEs.
That's the report on government taking loan for the development of MSME sectors. The people from most countries across the world are at risk of the possibility of second wave infection, despite some countries can almost keep the first wave under control. The experts predict that early lifted restrictions can cause the emergence of second wave infections, and that can also bring the worst major lockdowns again. Soyadana has more.
The people from most countries across the world are at risk of the possibility of second wave infection, despite some countries can almost keep the first wave under control. The experts predict that the early lifted restrictions can cause the emergence of second wave infections, and that can also bring the worst major lockdowns again. Vietnam, which was under the great control over the spread of COVID-19 by closing borders, imposing lockdowns, setting up facility quarantines, and carrying out contact tracing with no deaths, becomes a second city to the rise in COVID-19 infections after being free from the virus for months with 8 deaths as of 5th August. Dr. Tanaiso, Director of Health Knowledge Promotion Division from Ministry of Health and Sports, said about the second wave infection that people should be aware of.
Our very first imported case was reported on 27 March. After May, positive infection rate is gradually increasing from foreign returnees. We can see that the infection rate in our country is getting lower and leading to good condition. As we all know, Vietnam has been free from reported cases for about 90 days but accidentally it faced rising infection and death rates at Da Nang. Same as that, if there's an symptomatic patient in the crowds, and the people are not following health preventive measures, the virus can spread and nobody could know. Especially, people have to be careful while taking buses, even though our country is in a good control now. Depending on each and every citizen's self-protection, we can pass through this pandemic. There are also 60% of our reported symptomatic patients. We often urge the foreign returnees to cross the borders legally or by taking relief flights and staying under the facility quarantine. The cases all around the world are reaching nearly 19 million, and more than 690,000 people had died from this, so it's such a dangerous disease.
In Myanmar, people are passing through their daily lives. Some are following health preventive guidelines, and some still are not, regardless of self-protection. The authorities and experts always want the people to wear face masks and to wash hands for 20 seconds and to follow social distancing guidelines. There are also warnings and announcements not to put face masks on the chin and to wear them properly. Utanaiu, Region Hluttaw representative from Preparedness Township Constituency 1 said.
People keep in mind that there are no locally transmitted cases in the country, and they don't care to follow health guidelines now. As there are no vaccines or any other treatments for this disease, it is dangerous for people with no protection when the second wave occurs. The latest control is that the closure of pagodas on the full moon day of Waso, which is a good point to stop the crowd and thus to prevent the spread of the virus. Surprise check in restaurants and markets, whether they follow guidelines or not, they are still carrying on. We have to keep eyes on the neighboring countries' conditions.
The reopening of some of the public places, the relaunch of public transportation systems, and no locally transmitted cases are encouraging people to go out for their various reasons. There are still some people who avoid the crowds to prevent the infection, but for their livings, they can do it every day. Daw Hlawin, a resident who lives in Phuji, Yangon region, said.
I have to return back to Puji with 2 transport means, by taking train and then by taking express car. I live in my own yard, which is far from the village, so I don't have much information on COVID-19. As soon as I heard the news, I only stay at home without going out. I have no special preparations concerning COVID-19, and I adapt my living depending on the situation.
There are more than 18 million COVID-19 reported cases worldwide. Only 6% had died from this disease, according to the Worldometer Coronavirus Resource Center. In Myanmar, there are altogether 356 COVID-19 reported cases, 302 recoveries, and 6 deaths, according to the data released from the Ministry of Health and Sports on 8 a.m. of 5th August.
That's the report on COVID-19 situation in Myanmar, leading to good situation. It has been 30 years since China has been performing the UN peacekeeping missions, and year after year it is expanding its role in the progresses. Currently, China is participating in 26 UN peacekeeping missions by sending more than 40,000 peacekeepers. Dora Swissing has more.
China has joined the United Nations peacekeeping mission in 1990, and now it is participating in 26 UN peacekeeping missions. China is the second largest contributor to UN's peacekeeping budget, contributing 15.22% of total budget, which was $7 billion in 2019. China has made a positive contribution to peacekeeping efforts by supporting troops, helicopters, and funds, which has strengthened the UN's peacekeeping capabilities. Masood Damu from CRI Myanmar Department of China Media Group tell more information to MI Radio.
1945ခုနှစ်ဒီဇွန်လ25ရက်နေ့မှာတရုတ်နိုင်ငံဟာဗောနော်ကုလသမဂ္ဂပဋိညာဉ်စာချုပ်မှာလက်မှတ်ရေးထိုးချုပ်ဆိုခဲ့တဲ့ပထမဆုံးနိုင်ငံလေးဖြစ်ပါတယ်အခုဆိုရင်ကုလသမဂ္ဂပဋိညာဉ်စာချုပ်ချုပ်ဆိုခဲ့တဲ့နှစ်ဟာဆိုရင်85နှစ်ပြည့်မြောက်ခဲ့ပါပြီဒီကာလအတွင်းမှာတရုတ်နိုင်ငံဟာဒီဗတ်ပေါင်းစုံဝါဒကိုထိမ့်သိမ်းဆောက်ရှောက်ပြီးဗောနော်ဒီကမ္ဘာတဝန်းဇက်တိုက်ဖွံ့ဖြိုးတိုးတက်မှုလက်တွေ့အကောင်အထည်ဖော်ဖို့ဆိုတဲ့ဆောင်ပုဒ်အတိုင်းဒုတိယကမ္ဘာစစ်အပြီးနိုင်ငံတကာစနစ်နဲ့ပေါ့နော်ကမ္ဘာအေဂျင့်တည်ငြိမ်မှုထိန်းသိမ်းကာကွယ်ဖို့အတွက်ကုလသမဂ္ဂမှာပါဝင်ခဲ့တဲ့နိုင်ငံတနိုင်ငံလည်းဖြစ်ပါတယ်အထူးသဖြင့်ဒီတရုတ်တပ်မတော်ဟာကမ္ဘာငြိမ်းချမ်းရေးကိုထိန်းသိမ်းကာကွယ်ဖို့ပေါ့နော်အင်အားတစ်ခုဖြစ်တယ်လို့လည်းပြောလို့ရတယ်အခုနေ့ဆိုရင်ဒီတရုတ်နိုင်ငံအနေနဲ့ပေါ့နော်ကုလသမဂ္ဂငြိမ်းချမ်းမှုထိန်းသိမ်းရေးလုပ်ငန်းတာဝန်မှာပါဝင်ဆောင်ရွက်ခဲ့တဲ့နှစ်30ပြည့်မြောက်တဲ့နှစ်လည်းဖြစ်တယ်ဒါအပြင်ဒီလက်ရှိအချိန်အထိပေါ့နော်တရုတ်တပ်မတော်ဟာဒီငြိမ်းချမ်းမှုထိန်းသိမ်းရေးစစ်ဖက်ဝန်တန်း၄တောင်းကျော်ကိုစေလွှတ်ပြီးတော့ဗောနော်ကုလသမဂ္ဂငြိမ်းချမ်းမှုထိန်းသိမ်းရေးတာဝန်26ရက်မှာပါဝင်ဆောင်ရွက်လျက်လည်းရှိသလိုတရုတ်စစ်သည်10ဦးကျော်ကလည်းဒီငြိမ်းချမ်းရေးလုပ်ငန်းတာဝန်တွေလှုပ်ဆောင်ရင်ပေါ့နော်အသက်ပေးလူခဲ့တာကိုလည်းအားလုံးအသိဖြစ်မှာပါတရုတ်တပ်မတော်ဟာဆိုရင်သူ့ပြည်ရင်းဒီတရုတ်နိုင်ငံအတွင်းမှာလည်းပြည်သူတွေကိုပေါ့နော်ထိန်းသိမ်းကာကွယ်သူဖြစ်တယ်လို့နိုင်ငံတကာမှာလည်းကမ္ဘာအေဂျင့်တည်ငြိမ်မှုထိန်းသိမ်းကာကွယ်သူဖြစ်တဲ့အတွက်ကုလသမဂ္ဂဒီငြိမ်းချမ်းရေးဖော်ဆောင်မှုမှာတရုတ်နိုင်ငံရဲ့အခန်းကဏ္ဍတိုးတက်လာတယ်လို့ပဲကျွန်တော်တို့သုံးသပ်ချက်ပေးချင်ပါတယ်ရှင်
China is committed to defending the UN's authority, promoting multilateralism, and it has carried out dozens of humanitarian missions around the world. It trained peacekeeping personnel from other countries, protected Chinese and foreign vessels, established peacekeeping standby force, cleared mines and various unexploded ordnance, built or repaired roads in peacekeeping operation areas, and transported million tons of supplies. China plays an increasingly active role in reforming and improving the global governance system, and it is expanding its role in UN's peacekeeping missions year after year. News reported by Dora Susan from Myanmar International Radio.
That's a report on China's growing role in UN peacekeeping processes. The assertion that U.S. policy of engagement with China has failed is just a rehash of the Cold War mentality, said Chinese State Councilor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi on Wednesday.
所谓美国对华接触这次失败的论调，是重新时期冷战思维，完全否定了中美交往几十年取得的成果。 China 对华政策的坚定不移，是重新时期冷战思维的完全否定。
The
2015年12月20日，美国国务卿布林肯在华盛顿会见中， 不仅是对历史进程的无知，也是对中美两国人民的不尊重。这种散布政治病毒的做法，理所当然会受到美国国内以及国际社会的质疑和40多年前，中美两国领导人之所以能够实现跨越太平洋的握手，最根本的一条就是双方都坚持了相互尊重、求同存异的原则，搁置了彼此意识形态的差异。建交40多年来，经过双方几代人的共同努力，中美关系成为世界上相互交融最深、合作领域最广、共同利益最大的双边关系之一。这些都是不容否认也无法否认的事实。40多年后的今天，中美在社会制度等很多方面仍然完全不同，但是这种不同，过去、今天和将来都不会也不应该影响两国继续和平共处、合作共赢。双方没有必要也不可能去改变对方，而是应该尊重对方人民做出的自主选择。中国取得的巨大发展成就证明，中国特色社会主义道路不仅适合中国，同时也惠及这个世界。中国一定会继续按照人民的愿望，不断发展进步，并且为人类做出新的更大的贡献。任何人试图阻挡或者改变这个进程，不仅是不自量力，而且是自寻烦恼。
Beijing does not want to see a Cold War break out between China and the US, and both countries need to work to repair relations that are under unprecedented strain, said Chinese ambassador to the United States, Cui Tiankai, on Tuesday. The ambassador made the remarks in response to the reporters' questions at the Aspen Security Conference. Cui said relations between the US and China were at the lowest point in nearly 50 years, since President Richard Nixon opened a dialogue with Beijing in 1971. He said, "We are at a very critical moment in our relations. I don't think a new Cold War would serve anybody's interests," unquote. Chinese President Xi Jinping on Wednesday sent a message of condolences to his Lebanese counterpart Michel Aoun over a massive blast that ripped through Beirut, killing at least 100 people. In his message, Xi said he was shocked to learn about huge explosions in Beirut, which caused heavy casualties. On behalf of the Chinese government and the people and in his own name, Xi extended profound condolences to the victims, conveyed heartfelt sympathies to the bereaved families and the injured, and wished the injured a quick recovery. And that's all we have for today. Thanks for joining me on Myanmar Today. I am Agajo. Have a great day, everyone. Stay home, stay safe. I'll see you again. Goodbye.